Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Creative Juice without Pulp. Today we're going to be looking at the organization of logo design files. Sexy, I know. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to break this into two parts. One, doing your own project and what files and logos and formats and blah 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 that you'll need when doing your own personal project. And the second thing is what you're going to send to a client if you're doing client logos, because that's probably why you're here. But we'll just look at the personal projects first because it should be quicker and easier. Alright, let's look into the folder. For this instance, I've used Creative Juice, this channel, please subscribe, as the example. You're going to have the logo files, you're going to have the logo files zip in case you want to send it to yourself over email so you have it on another, you can access it wherever. It's always useful just to have it as a zip file and send it to yourself, you never know. Then the actual Illustrator file, if you're designing in Illustrator, I recommend it. If not, if you're doing it on Canva or whatever, skip that and you're just going to have all these logo files variations. So that's what I recommend at least. And then lastly, a folder for old files. I recommend keeping old files if you're like, oh, I had that idea, that was kind of good, I wish I still had that. You can just chuck it in there if you need to save up space, delete it, but it's always useful. Alright, for the logo files, you're going to want your logo in PNG, JPEG, SVG, AI, and PDF. Super useful. If you want to print something, then you have all the files you need, and the PNG and the JPEG are the ones you're going to be using all the time. So I recommend having that set up. As well as that, another thing you're going to be using all the time is the same logo, but with white text. I actually probably use this more than I use the actual logo. A lot of the time you're not going to have a white background. You're going to have like a colored background or a photo as a background or a video as a background if you're doing video stuff or YouTube. So I would recommend having the logo just as a PNG. You probably don't need a JPEG because it's, white text over a white background, so you won't be able to read it. So you'll need it as PNG. You could have it as a SVG, AI, PDF if you ever want to print and you're thinking big, but again, this is a personal thing. You can do that whenever you need. I would recommend doing your logo as a little icon or something if you're doing it as a profile picture or a favicon and stuff like that. So the Nike swoosh or something like that. Just the logo, just as a small little icon version. And another version is with a colored background. You might use it. Who knows? Another thing, fonts folder. You never know. It's super useful. Down the track, and this happened to me. Down the track, you get a new computer or whatever, and you move your files, and then you realize I don't have any of my fonts, or you're sending it to another computer and you don't have the fonts. Whatever. I recommend just save the fonts in a folder so you have them. You never know. I would recommend having the logo in a square with a circle. You'll actually remove the circle when saving the file, but you put the circle into the Photoshop file just so you can see how the logo will fit as a social media profile picture. So here I have it with the Creative Juice whole logo as white, or white text, and then also the version with just the icon. This is super useful. I would recommend it. You'll probably use this quite a bit. Another thing is I have set up on Illustrator the logo, but with that text that I can change. So I have this weird squiggly effect on the logo. I don't know why. It probably added more work, but it looks cool. I can just change, so I've done this is cool here. Basically, I can just change that text. So if I want to say, please subscribe, then I can do that. And it's just like part of the branding. And so if you're creating a strong brand, it looks really neat and kind of cool. I've done this little glass icon thing for the video for subscribe that comes up at the start and the end of the video. It's useful to have kind of assets like this in this folder because you might end up using them a lot. With some wildlife clients, the logos have like little animals in them, and they actually end up using those icons quite a bit on websites or leaflets and stuff like that. So it's always useful to just have them in that folder as well, that Illustrator file. And then lastly, I would recommend just do the logo in all black and then do the logo in all white. It just makes it super easy for you. You might end up using that, might not. It's more important for clients than it is for a personal project. Because remember, with a personal project, you can just make it whenever you need. Whereas with clients, you're going to save a lot of time if they're not going back and forth and asking for stuff and you have to keep making them stuff. Speaking of, let's jump into client logos and how to organize that and what you should send them. Alright, so with the folders, this is what I recommend. On your documents or your hard drive or whatever, you're going to have a folder with all your projects. So your graphic design business or marketing or whatever it is, in that folder, you can either do list by years, which I've seen quite a lot of agencies and companies do. So 2020, and in there you have every single 2020 client that you've done. 2021, every single client that you work with that year. This is quite useful if you have a ton of clients. However, if you're just starting out, you don't have to do this right away. You can always move the files later on. So in this file, you're going to have all of your clients, and then in those files, then you're going to have all of these following items. All right, so for clients, we'll use an actual example. I made this logo for Bird Bay Ocean Eco Experience. They're an air peninsula, and you can swim with sea lions. It's really cool. I've done it. Here's a video. Damn, that's cool. So I was lucky enough to do their branding. This is what you're going to need to send them. You don't need to, but this is what I recommend. If they're a bigger business, they'll probably expect this. If they're smaller or starting out, they won't expect all of these files. But what happens is years down the track, if it's going well for them, they'll probably end up asking you for these versions. So it's always nice when doing it now, sending them all of this so they have it.
You know, they like to just have it.
Maybe separate, so we have it.
So we have it, that way we have it. That way you have it.
So the first one is their normal logo. You'll want this in a PNG, a JPEG, SVG, AI, and PDF. Super important because this is their logo. This is the one they're going to use most often, most likely. However, they will also very often use the other version of the logo, which is where the text is white. Because a lot of the times, you know, you're putting the logo on a photo as a background, or a colored background, or a video as a background, or blah, blah, blah.
You need blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
So you'll often want the text as white. So in this, you obviously won't need a JPEG because JPEG is white background and then white text over it. You won't be able to read it. But you'll need it as a PNG, SVG, AI, and PDF. This is if they want to print it. Depending on the size of the company, they might want to print, you know, signage and stuff like that. So it's always nice to offer them this kind of stuff. So they have it.
So we have it.
And down the track, in 2 years, they won't say, oh, can you send us this logo? Another thing I recommend is making the logo in all black and in all white. This is actually quite common. So if they're printing something in only black and white, then these are nice and easy to read. If you just take the logo and make it in grayscale, sometimes the colors won't shine through. Say a yellow will actually not be that, won't have that good contrast on the page. So I recommend giving them these two options. Speaking of that, another thing I would recommend is doing the logo in white or in black and then having one of their colors in there to be used. This is sometimes useful. It's not a must really when doing this, and it's not a new version of the logo. It's just a different logo variation. Another thing that I recommend is do the logo in the social media icons. They'll thank you. Down the track, they're going to send you a message saying, hey, the logo is not fitting on social media because it gets cropped. So if you do the logo in the social media size when you send it to them, this will save them time and it'll make them happy, and it'll save you time because they won't be messaging you in 2 months saying, hey, can we get the logo? Why is the logo not fitting? It doesn't look good, blah, blah, blah. Another thing, give them the fonts. You never know. They might want to make something and they want it to stay on brand. So if you can give them the fonts, that'd be really nice. They'll appreciate it. So last but not least, logos in different variations. It's not a must, but it's quite nice. So in some instances, the logo will fit better in a horizontal space or in a vertical space. So you could just rejig the logo to fit better for them. This often comes at a higher price, asking the client to, do a bunch of different versions. Can't remember which company it was, but I did 40 different versions for them in terms of formats and sizes and placing of the logo so it could fit any space they wanted. You don't have to do that. Depends on what they've asked for and your price range as well. Here you can see one that I've made for Bird Bay, which fits a lot better in a horizontal space as the icon's on the side, and it doesn't take up as much vertical space. So another thing is, and this is way down the track, but what happens is a lot of the times if the client's business is doing well, they'll want to expand in the future, and this happens quite a lot. For example, say if it's a car company or a car cleaning company, later down the line they'll start cleaning trucks or something like that, and then they'll want the logo in the same branding but just change the icon from a car to a truck, or stuff like that. It's they go from hotel cleaning to now Airbnb cleaning. So this isn't something you have to prepare for, but it's quite useful to know. So you save all the files and you have them ready and also workable in the document. If you convert all of the logos into shapes in Illustrator, then you can't type out the text if you don't have that font anymore. So I just recommend thinking down the track. So as an example, Bird Bay do accommodation. So I've done this other version of their logo where the only thing that's really changed is the seal icon has been changed to a house. So stuff like this, it can happen. So it's just useful to like bear in mind. Thanks for watching. Hope it's been useful. This is Creative Juice without Pulp. If you like the video, please actually like the video, because then I know that I should do more videos about logo design and maybe folders and stuff like that, and organization. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Good luck with your client work. Good luck with your personal project. Good luck. Bye.